you to consider this application. Maybe this is a welcome screen for a game or going into some other project. We have the user enter their first name. In this case, Jennifer was entered. And then they click the continue button, and it generates a message for the day. Welcome to SMCC, comma, Jennifer. So we can use the user's name. And then a second line, have a nice sunny Arizona day, and they click OK, and maybe that would take them then to the next screen. So here's the code for that continue button. And we can represent the algorithm of this button, the code for this button, with a flowchart. And our flowchart starts with a terminator symbol, which I call it a cigar symbol, or it's kind of an extended rounded rectangle with the ends rounded off. That's our start. And I just put in here that this is for BT continue. The next step we'd represent here in our algorithm is we want to get the user name. And that's using an input-output symbol, which is a parallelogram. And so we write in there get username. And that's what we're doing in this first line of code here. String user equals txt firstname.text, and I made a comment here that that's input. Then we want to create a prompt string, which we'll use in a message box. And our prompt string consists of two prompts. The first one we're going to build is welcome to SMCC, comma, space as a literal string. We're going to concatenate the word user and concatenate a exclamation mark. And then prompt 2 is a new line escape character, and then have a nice sunny Arizona day. That is, those two lines together are our process. And then our output. And for output, we also use an input-output parallelogram. And we're going to say that we want to display a message box. So here's our message box output. Messagebox.show, prompt 1 plus concatenation, prompt 2, and then our title, message for the day. And again, if I run this, there is our message for the day. This is what we call a top-down approach to programming. Everything happens sequentially. But sometimes we might want to write a program that allows us to branch out in one of two different directions. For example, when I click the continue button, it generates this prompt, and the second line of that says, have a nice sunny day. But what if it's raining out? Maybe we want to say, don't forget your umbrella. So we want to branch out in one of two different directions based on what the weather is. Let's look at how we can do that. I've altered the program a little bit. This time the user enters their first name. They're asked, is it raining? And they can choose either yes or no. Then they click the continue button. So if the answer is set to no for is it raining, they're told, welcome to SMCC, Sandra. Have a nice sunny Arizona day. However, if they've clicked yes, that changes the prompt. And now they're told, welcome to SMCC, Sandra. Take your umbrella today. So our program now is branching to include this possibility of altering prompt to string. And that's if this Boolean expression or Boolean question which is represented by a diamond shape, is true, then the control flow of our execution of this button includes altering the second prompt string. If it doesn't, it's false, and that's the original second prompt string is created up here in this create prompt string, then it's going to ignore that and come this direction down and just display it. So here's how we write that in code. We use an if block. So we can say if, and then in parentheses our Boolean expression. So txt raining.text, which is this text box up here, is equal to yes. So if the text of that text box is yes, then we're going to execute the code that's between these curly brackets. And that code is to change prompt 2 to have a new line character and take your umbrella today. If, however, that's false, if they have clicked no, or that says anything other than yes, then we're going to have the original message for the day of have a nice sunny day. Now I want to talk about a variation of the if block, and that is an if-else conditional structure. My program's going to do the same thing as we did earlier. I've just written it a little bit differently. So I entered the first name of Timothy. Right now it's not raining. I say continue. And our message is, welcome to SMCC, Timothy. Have a nice sunny Arizona day. If I say yes, then we're going to get that prompt where we're telling Timothy to take his umbrella. So same thing as we saw earlier, except I've written it a little bit differently. And you can see from the flowchart over here, we're creating prompt 1 And then I'm asking the question, is it raining? And if it is, I'm going to take prompt 2 and create that as take your umbrella. But if it's not raining, I'm going to set prompt 2 equals to sunny day. And one of these two forks will happen, but not both. If this is true, our control flow goes this way. But if this is false, our control flow goes this way. And only one of these two code blocks gets executed. So here's how we write that in code. We're getting our user input, we're prompting our string 1, and then we create our prompt 2 string, and then here is my if structure, or my if-else structure. So just like before, we have an if, txt running.text equals yes, then prompt 2 equals take your umbrella today, and then I follow that with an else, and then another set of curly brackets. And in this else structure, we set prompt 2 equal to new line escape character, have a nice sunny Arizona day. One of those two will be executed, and then we follow that with messagebox.show. So that is an if-else structure. I've changed my project a little bit further in that now I have 3 buttons here that say sunny, raining, and snowy. And I changed the name of this text box to TXT forecast. So here the person can choose one of these buttons and we'll change what's in the text box here called TXT forecast. So if they choose raining and click continue, our message for the day is welcome to SMCC James, take your umbrella today since it's raining. If however they chose snowy, our prompt would be welcome to SMCC James, grab a coat, it's cold. And then if they chose sunny, we get our original message box, welcome to SMCC James, have a nice sunny Arizona day. This can be represented in this structure in which we have an if Boolean expression, and if that's true, it's going to do this item. We're going to set the prompt 2 to take an umbrella. If it's false, we're going to do another if expression. And if that's true, we'll set the prompt 2 to grab coat, it's cold. And if that one is also false, then we'll set our prompt to sunny day. Here then is what that conditional if-else structure or code block looks like. We have our if and a Boolean expression in parentheses. And if that Boolean expression evaluates to true, we're going to do something. If, however, that Boolean expression is false, we're going to come down here and hit this code block with our else if. We're going to check a second Boolean expression, and if that one is true, then we're going to do something. And if both of those are false, we're going to hit this else fork. And we're going to do something if neither one of those are true. Let's jump over to Visual Studio and look at this in our code. So here then is our project in Visual Studio. And as I mentioned, this text box is now named TXT Forecast. We have BTN Sunny, BTN Raining, BTN Snowing, and then of course we have our BTN Continue. And our text box TXT First Name. What I did to code these 3 buttons was I simply selected all 3, and then in the properties I went to the events and I created a click event called set weather. So it's going to code all 3 of those together. Let's take a look at that code. So I have my set weather event handler, which takes our arguments of object sender and event args e. I'm going to take that sender and cast it as a button and put that into a new button called my button. Now the new button isn't visible, it doesn't exist other than in memory, but it basically is pointing to whatever button the user clicked, whether it be sunny, raining, or snowy. And then I simply set the text of TXT forecast to whatever the text of the button was. So it will be either sunny, raining, or snowy. So then for our continue button, here is that code. As before, we're going to get the text of the TXT first name text box, set that into user. We're going to create our prompt 1, welcome to SMCC, concatenating user and concatenating exclamation mark. Create our prompt 2 string variable, And then here is our if, else structure. So our first Boolean is if txt forecast.text is equal to raining. If it is, we're going to set prompt2 to a new line, take your umbrella today. If that is false, it's going to come down and execute this else if. And here our Boolean expression is txt forecast.text is equal to snowy. And if that's true, we'll set prompt2 equal to grab a coat, it's cold outside, or it's cold. And if neither one of those are true, it's going to do this else fork. And in that case, we set our prompt2 to have a nice sunny Arizona day. Once it has executed one of those three forks, then it's going to do our message box and use the appropriate prompt2 that was created. Now, so we have three different forks here. Could we have 4? Could we have 5? Could we have 6? And the answer is yes. You can have as many else ifs here as you need. So to demonstrate that, I'm going to go back to my project interface design. We're going to take the snowy button, copy it, paste it. I'll put it over here. Let's change the text of this button from snowy. We'll make it, let's make it hurricane. And I'm going to add this to our set weather. So I'm going to click the little lightning bolt, go to click, event, and choose set weather. I'm going to hide that. Let's go to our continue button code. I'm going to simply copy the else if structure that we have here and paste it. So now I'm getting a second else if. This adds our third fork of our 4 forks, moving the else down, which is going to be our default. But here we're going to change the text to hurricane. And I'm going to change my prompt to grab a hold of something. Say it's very windy. Okay, I'm going to run this. Here's my project. With sunny, we get have a nice sunny Arizona day. If I choose raining, take your umbrella today, James. If we say snowy, grab a coat, it's cold. And if we say hurricane, grab a hold of something, it's very windy. We could do many more buttons if we wanted, and all we would need to do is add in more else if forks with the appropriate Boolean expression and the appropriate prompt2. So those are the 3 different structures we have with an if. We have an if, we have an if else, and we have an if else structure. In that if else structure, you can have as many else if forks as you need.